Did you see Jill and Joe walking across the lawn, hand in hand? So romantic. And then he stops and bends down and picks a flower for her and hands it to her.
That was not a flower. That was a weed.
Hello, this is Karen.
And this is Kevin.
And this is Right From Us.
Yeah, that was actually a dandelion, which I consider that a weed. But some people.
What is a weed? Isn't it a weed?
Well, some people like dandelions. I mean, some people eat dandelion.
Ooh, do they really?
Dandelion
salad.
salad.
What that tastes like? I mean, like the real dandelions that grow out in
the real dandelions.
They eat it?
People eat those, and some people like
Ew.
dandelions in the yard. I think they're kind of ugly, and I spray them.
I think they're kind of pretty, and they're fun to blow and have the seeds go everywhere. But
yeah.
But I mean, it was the thought that counts. I thought that was really sweet of him to do that.
Yeah.
Even though I can't stand Joe, it was a sweet little gesture toward his wife.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah, and speaking of weed, speaking of weed in New York, they're announcing that you can get a free joint if you get the jab.
Oh, sign me up.
So it's like, what else? What other kind of incentives are they going to be giving to people?
Well, think about it. I mean, some people get the jab for a donut.
I know beer. They got free beer, free donuts.
How sad is it that you're being sold out for a donut, or a joint, or a beer? Are you kidding me, people? Really?
Yeah. I mean, this is your body.
You're being injected with God knows what for a donut? That just makes no sense to me whatsoever.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. And by the way, side note, I was going to ask you about this. This is highly controversial. Okay, so remember, just take this with a grain of salt, people. This is our opinion. We're entitled to our opinion. You're entitled to disagree.
You are?
Well, some people.
I'm not sure about that.
Some people don't think you are, but you are. So this whole jab thing. So my body, my choice. Whatever happened to that? I mean, if I choose not to put something in my body, then I have the right to say that, correct? So this is another example of how so hypocritical the left are when it comes to these issues.
Just depends whatever side they're on. That's how
I don't even know if it's the side that's the issue. I think it's all about the money. If it's going to convince people to vote for the left, they're all for it. Or if special interest groups are giving them money, they're all for it. But if it comes to something like this jab, I almost said the words that got us banned the first time. Then all of a sudden, no, too bad. You have to get it regardless. You can't, if you don't get it, you don't get to do A, B, and C. So you don't have a choice. I don't care. It's your body and your choice. Not in this case. It's our choice. And we think it's best for you to take it. Whatever happened to that argument?
I don't know. This week they announced that the CDC announced that cruises can proceed, I think beginning in May, or actually I think it'll take them until July to ramp up. But cruises can proceed if 95% of the passengers have been vaccinated.
Well, 3 weeks ago they only recommended it.
Yeah, three
now
weeks ago.
Now it's required.
3 weeks ago they were recommending that passengers be vaccinated, but that was under the old rules where they were saying that there was going to be test cruises. So they were going to recommend people be vaccinated, and then the cruise lines would do these test cruises. And apparently, I didn't hear about this, but apparently there was a lot of blowback to that idea, and people were emailing and calling and writing into do people still write? Writing into the CDC, and then after 3 weeks of that, the CDC came out with these new guidelines.
So I like how you said the old rule, which was like 3 weeks old.
Yeah.
Before they changed it.
Well, no, as far as the test cruises, that was something that CDC's. I mean, they've been talking about it for 6 months or something like that, and they just would never give the. They never would give the go ahead, yeah, on it. So. Anyway, it's just really disgusting what the
It is absolutely
CDC,
disgusting.
And how much power the CDC, they can just snap their fingers and say, okay, no more cruises. Well, or they can snap their fingers and say,
anything.
I know. And they said they did not allow landlords to evict tenants. It's like, how can the CDC do that? How? I mean, how is that even possible? It's just a government agency. How can they have that much power to say no more evictions?
Yeah, and I'm looking at their website right now, and they've got two sets of rules: one for vaccinated people and one for unvaccinated people. So you're already segregating people. You're already pitting people against each other. And ultimately, it's no one's damn business if we get the jab or not.
Yeah,
whatever happened to privacy? This is my health privacy. You have no.
Yeah.
In fact, I got my hair cut today. I didn't tell you this. I actually got it cut and colored.
Oh, it looks nice.
Well, it's dark, but whatever. I don't care. It's color. It's hair. I don't get that upset over it. Not that I don't like it. Don't get me wrong. She's great. I like her. But the salon where I went to, an older lady was getting her hair cut and blown out and whatever old women do every week or whatever they do. And then her daughter or family member was sitting there, and she had the audacity to ask the stylist if she'd been vaccinated.
Really?
Which I thought was odd. I mean, on one hand, it's almost become a conversation starter now with people.
Was she asking her, like...
No, she was asking in a conversational tone of voice.
Not that, like...
Not confrontational.
I'm not going to let you cut my hair if you haven't been...
Right. But I was almost shocked that she had the audacity to ask this person something so private.
Well, I mean, it's kind of like the thing, people are posting pictures of themselves on Facebook getting vaccinated. It's like,
well, yeah, but to me, that's only because they want to show everybody, look at me, I'm a sheeple. Yeah, I'm better than you. I got my vaccination. Yeah, I'm protected.
There are people out there that are saying they're not going to allow unvaccinated people into their house. It's like, what about the smallpox vaccine?
Well, I mean,
what about the measles vaccine?
We have family members
vaccine?
that have flat out said that they didn't want to get together if we're not vaccinated, which is sad, but okay. I mean, that's your choice, I guess, and it's our choice to not participate. But that's what I'm talking about. This whole subject is just almost designed entirely to pit people against each other.
Yeah, whatever happens, just okay, if you want to get vaccinated, great. If you want to wear a mask, great. If you don't want to wear a mask, great. If you don't want to leave your house, fine. That's your choice.
Don't leave your house.
Yeah. So anyway, the CDC also said that vaccinated travelers can travel freely.
Well,
there's going
to
be like a number of
more to start.
There's just going to be a number of things like this, carrots that are going to be out there. Oh, if you're vaccinated, you can do this. If you're vaccinated, you can do this. If you're not vaccinated, you can't do this.
Okay, but listen to this for a second. So domestic travel, because obviously they're not allowing anybody. Are they allowing anybody to leave the United States at all? I know that they're putting a ban on China.
I think so, but you have to
India.
quarantine. I think you have to quarantine.
Okay, and side note on that, as a matter of fact, Biden has come out to say that he's restricted travel to India because the country is just it's just kind of exploding now with all these COVID cases.
Well, we can talk about that though in a second. Don't let me forget that one.
And I agree with that. I do, because let's avoid the area until they get it calmed down. I totally get that. Just like what happened with China.
That's exactly. That's similar to what President Trump did with China when China was taking off at the very first, and he got heavily criticized for that.
Well, and that's the reason I want to bring it up, because that's what everybody's talking about on Twitter. How Biden came out and lambasted Trump for making the decision to cease travel abroad when this first came out, and now he's doing the same with India.
That's a good point.
It's just it goes to show that when it happens to you, you're going to do what you think is right, and that's what Trump did, and that's what Biden's doing now. So
the thing about it is, there are 1.5 billion people in India. 1.5 billion.
Yeah.
And they're saying there's 2,000 deaths every day. There's like 2,000 deaths from diarrhea in India every day.
Is there though? I mean, I do feel like that's a lot.
1.5 billion people there.
Well, and again, but are all 2,000 dying from COVID, or are they just being counted as COVID deaths?
I mean, that's another good question.
I don't know that we're ever going to truly know the answer to that.
It's just one of those things you have to take things in perspective. 2,000 people out of 5 billion.
But I mean, it is startling to hear that number, even though when you take it into
some of the pictures coming out of there are pretty disturbing, like people carrying their dead relatives on a bicycle and things like that.
But keep in mind, they did the exact same thing to us whenever this started last year. They showed nothing but the morbid and the disturbing, just to keep people fearful and thinking that this was going to kill you as soon as you step outside your house.
All the body bags and things like that. Yeah.
Right. So again, take it with a grain of salt. I do feel sorry for India right now. They're going through a lot, and I hope that they're able to get past this pretty quickly. But back to the CDC recommendation for domestic travel recommendations for fully vaccinated people. Okay, get this. During travel, you must wear a mask. Masks are required on planes, buses, trains, and other forms of public transportation traveling into and within the United States. Avoid crowds and stay at least 6 feet or about 2 arms lengths away from everyone who's not traveling with you. Wash your hands frequently after travel. Self-monitor. And now, you do not need to get tested or self-quarantine if you are fully vaccinated or have recovered from COVID-19 in the past 3 months. Now, domestic travel recommendations for unvaccinated people. Before you travel, you have to get tested. Get tested with a viral test 1 to 3 days before your trip. While you're traveling, you have to wear a mask. On planes, buses, trains, and other forms of public transportation, you have to avoid crowds and stay at least 6 feet apart.
That's all the same,
Wash your
right?
hands. Exactly. And that's exactly what I'm trying to say. After you travel, you get tested again. And then you have to stay home and self-quarantine for a full 7 days after
these
travel.
are only recommendations. You don't have to do that.
Yeah, recommended. That's true. But my point is,
there's
no difference, is there?
If I was the person that had taken the vaccine, at this point I'd be going, what did
I would be so pissed off. It's like, why did I put myself through that? What did I just get injected with if nothing's going to change in this whole madness?
There was
I would be so mad.
Biden was asked about that, and he was talking about it. It's like, well, it's your patriotic duty. It's your patriotic duty for vaccinated people to continue to wear a mask. It's like, what are you talking about? I had if someone had the vaccine, it's just like, what are you talking about?
Well, it's just
patriotic duty.
No, that's just another ploy to try to guilt you into taking it like, oh, well, I got to protect my fellow man and everything. No, your fellow man can protect him or herself.
Yeah, we can take care of ourselves.
Okay, stop making decisions on my behalf like we're a bunch of children that can't make up their own minds and live their own lives. I get so tired of that. It's so insulting the way they treat people. Like African Americans, how they're too stupid to go out and get an ID on their own. That's so insulting to them.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I just get so tired of people trying to make decisions on my behalf. I'm a grown-ass woman. I'm fine. I'll make my own decisions. Thank you. Okay. Rant over for now.
Okay, so where we're going to go from there? We can look at the last week we talked about the flu stats, and I'm going to put the graph up on the screen here. It's
it's a miracle.
It's
a miracle.
Amazing.
The flu has disappeared.
The flu disappeared this year, and if on the screen is the graph, and if you're listening, you can go. I'll put the link in the show notes to this graph it's on the CDC website that shows the flu numbers compared to prior years, and it's just like it's non-existent. There's no flu. So in other words, all the flu cases are getting counted as COVID cases this year.
Well, yeah, of course.
Well, but they say
I feel like that's a no-brainer anymore.
Their explanation is, well, the COVID virus is just so much more powerful. It's just taken over the flu virus. It's just taken over for the flu virus.
Yes, it has. It has in media coverage.
Yeah.
It has in everyone's obsessed with it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, of course it's taken over.
But anyway, we're like at the end of the flu season here, and so they're not going to have anything to go on here because there's not going to be flu cases either.
Yeah, but just wait till this fall. I mean, what do you think is going to happen this fall?
Yeah,
by the fall, we should have herd immunity, should we not?
By the fall, it's going to be a new variant.
Yeah, it's going to be something.
It'll be a new variant.
Mark our words.
Yeah, new variant, and then we'll start this whole thing over
on
again.
May 1st, 2021, we are predicting that this is going to just be another whole new thing when comes fall. And we're going to be back to masks. Yeah, mark our words because today's May 1st.
Today is May 1st, 2021.
That's what I said.
Oh, okay. Oh, I see what you're saying. I thought you said
a little slow over here.
I thought you said on May 1st, 2021. Mark our words.
Actually, maybe I did say that, but I mean, mark this date down is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, mark this date down. But then again, we'll have maybe have Biden still in office. Maybe it'll be Harris at that point. So maybe they won't try to, make it so dramatic.
Yeah.
Because that was one thing for sure, that they definitely played up the crisis aspect of it whenever President Trump was in office.
Well, we can't let a good crisis go to waste, honey.
That's for sure.
We have to, we have to capitalize on every single crisis.
The left always does. They either have a crisis or a manufactured crisis.
And I have to say, they're very good at it.
It's either a crisis or a manufactured crisis that they use to impose more restrictions and more regulations and things on us.
I get really tired of people calling people like us who have questions about the jab anti-vaxxers.
I'm not anti-vax.
Let's be clear. We are not anti-vaxxers at all. Okay, measles, polio, smallpox, all of those really serious diseases. Absolutely 100%. Get the vaccine. That is what it's there for. You can't afford to have that disease and have the long-term repercussions that those diseases have shown to do. But our thing is on the jab is we have questions. We feel like it's happened way too fast. The reading that we've done on the jab is it's not technically a vaccine. It's something different. It's kind of an experimental technology that
it's definitely a new technology.
Yes. And we're just saying, slow down, please, and let's test it a little further before we will consider taking the jab.
Here's something that we never did talk about a couple weeks ago. Even the definition of vaccine has changed in the last.
According to whom?
Back in January, if you look at the Merriam-Webster definition of vaccine, before I think it was January 26th, it's completely different. Or they actually, it's not completely different, but they added something
like an alternate definition.
Yeah, to allow
to coincide with the agenda, basically.
Yeah, to allow for what this new vaccine. I'm,
quotation marks.
Quotation marks.
The reason I'm even bringing this up is, again, we have questions, okay? And I'm not giving you this information to scare you if you've had the jab. I'm just saying there are questions, okay? I want answers before I will participate in anything like this. There's an article on children'shealthdefense.org. It's called The Defender. EU vaccine injury reporting system shows more than 330,000 adverse events following the COVID vaccines. Every week, the Defender publishes the latest data from the Vaccine Adverse Events Reporting Systems, or VAERS, on injuries and deaths reported after people received one of the 3 COVID vaccines that have received emergency use authorization in the U.S., and that is key, people. The emergency use authorization is what's really allowing all of this to go through at warp speed, as Trump said. VAERS, which operates under the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, is the primary government-funded system for reporting adverse vaccine reactions in the U.S. In the EU, suspected drug reactions are reported to Vigilance, which also tracks reports of injuries and deaths following the experimental COVID vaccines. The Health Impact News report broke down the data by vaccine, type of injury, and country. According to the report, injury and death reports totals for each vaccine were, and this sounds like overall, not just in the U.S., Pfizer, 4,293 deaths and 144,607 injuries. Moderna is 2,094 deaths and 15,979 injuries. Johnson & Johnson, 19 deaths and 246 injuries. But keep in mind, Johnson & Johnson hasn't been out that long. Cardiac and blood disorders were among the most commonly reported injuries.
Okay, the only thing I have to say about that is how many people have been vaccinated at this point?
Well, that's a very good point. So, I mean,
is it like
and see, shame on them for not reporting that.
Yeah,
because you have to look at the big picture. To be honest.
Yeah, to be objective, and don't you have to consider the fact that was it like 8 million people or something?
Yep, that's what I mean. And that's not to say that other vaccines that are out there haven't had problems. I'm sure
Yeah.
there have been some deaths and some injuries from other vaccines
It'd be
as well.
interesting to see how this compares to other vaccines that have
Oh, absolutely.
been in the past.
Absolutely.
How many?
Because let's be completely fair.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
But my point in bringing this up is there are just so many unanswered questions. There've never been a successful animal trial. And to me, that's big. I mean, so
Well,
don't
yeah.
you think? You don't think
Yeah.
that's big?
Well, yeah, it's obviously, but the trials are continuing, and they're doing the trials.
They
but
are doing
it's
the trials.
Still an experimental
Jab.
thing that's happening right now.
Right.
So yeah,
So instead of animals, because of the emergency use authorization, human beings are the trials. And I am just not willing to be one of those experiments. So that's just how I feel about it. I mean, again, you want to do it? Be my guest. Your body, your choice. But I'm choosing not to. And so what's so frustrating about this is my choice is being penalized and made to seem like I'm the bad guy for not doing it. And how dare me? I'm just so selfish for not participating in the jab. Well, you can call me all the names that you want to. This is my body and my future.
I mean, some people are more cautious than others, and I like to be cautious about things
That goes into my body.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
I did see something kind of interesting the other day. I went around looking for some. We do some treasure hunting. Me and my uncle do treasure hunting, and we went to this thrift store. And this one guy always kind of harasses us about not wearing masks. And then as we were leaving, I noticed the guy was outside smoking.
Oh goodness.
Pull his mask down to smoke. He's
Right.
like, he's fine with putting cancer-causing chemicals in his lungs, but
Speaking of which, did you hear that they're trying to outlaw menthol cigarettes? Or,
yeah, that's going to happen. That's like an executive order that they're going to do.
So is that another decision because we can't trust people to make the right choices? Because you're
Supposedly,
incapable of making a good
supposedly
decision.
it's-
They're going to make it on your behalf.
yeah, supposedly it's encouraging children to smoke. The only problem with like 85% of African Americans choose menthol
Right.
cigarettes.
And that's exactly that's why I'm saying that, because
they're
it's
saying-
just another thing like, hey, black people, you don't really know what's good for you. So we're going to go ahead and make this on your behalf, this decision to do away with something that you enjoy and you like to do. So.
Okay. Well, Biden had his big speech this week. Did you listen to it at all, or?
No,
I didn't really see much of it at all.
There was nothing to listen to. It was very unexciting and just there was nothing exciting at all about it. In fact, Ted Cruz fell asleep during it.
Yeah, I didn't. I heard about that. I didn't see.
No, I saw it.
Did you see?
Well, I saw the meme because
Funny. I saw a meme where the My Pillow guy was putting a pillow behind Ted Cruz's head in the speech.
Oh, that is awesome. That is awesome. I mean, Ted Cruz, he freely admits that he fell asleep.
Yeah.
He's like, in fact, I feel like I could have slept longer, but yeah, it was very unexciting.
Yeah.
But actually, the Republicans have gotten a lot of kickback and criticism for wearing a mask to the meeting, because everybody in the room has been fully vaccinated.
They were wearing masks in the thing. See, I didn't even watch 1 second of it.
Everybody that went to his speech was wearing a mask. And so the Republicans were getting a lot of criticism, like, okay, Ted Cruz is talking about how he doesn't want to wear a mask and blah, 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 and yet he still does. If you truly mean that, then just stop wearing a mask. You're fully vaccinated.
They probably weren't allowed. I think actually on the House floor you have to wear a mask.
Well, actually, isn't there some kind of order that's been passed, like any government building you have to wear a mask? It's mandated. I think on any government property, I think you have to wear a
definitely
mask.
in the House. That is one thing that Pelosi put in place, is you have to wear a mask in the House chambers. So
there was only like 200 people there, whereas I think it seats 1,500 is what they said. So they were all spread out, and it was just.
Yeah, they had Harris and Pelosi back behind Biden, and I saw a really funny meme of Dumb and Dumber. They had basically the same
colors,
outfits on. I'll put that on the screen.
That's pretty funny, and though those are their real outfits, so it's not photoshopped, because I watched it and that's what they wore. Yeah.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, and there's an article in here that Biden considers requiring troops to get COVID shot.
Yeah, that's something I think that over 50% of the military has refused the vaccine.
Actually, I think only 30% of the military has gotten COVID,
something like that. Yeah,
the jab.
Yeah,
yeah, I think so. So it says the widely expressed concerns months ago about civil liberties and discrimination seem to be waning as President Biden ponders requiring all troops to be vaccinated, and some Democratic governors announced people who get the COVID-19 shots will be given special treatment. You'll be rewarded. Good puppy. Good puppy. On Friday, Biden told NBC News' Craig Melvin it's a tough call, but he has not ruled out requiring that all military personnel receive the vaccine. I think you're going to see more and more of them getting it, Biden said, and I think it's going to be a tough call as to whether or not they should be required to have to get it in the military because you are in such close proximity with other military personnel.
What if they were just to refuse? I mean, so 70% of the military refuses to get it. They're not going to fire them from the military. Just like, these medical facilities where only 50% of the people are going, have gotten vaccinated. Well, they're not going to fire 40% of their staff. If the people that are not vaccinated just stick together and say we're not getting it.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I'm hanging my hat on when it comes to my job.
Yeah.
For right now, they say that 56% of the employees have been vaccinated. So at this point in time, I'm hoping that it stays low because they're obviously not going to fire 40% of their staff, if we get up to 60% or whatever. But if it gets up to 70 or above, I think I'm going to have to start sweating because, at that point, they can afford to lose the people that are not vaccinated.
Yeah, I think we got a while to wait on that.
I really hope so because I really like my job and I don't want to leave.
They're already shorthanded. They're not going to get rid of people for that.
Oh, and that's true. That is very true. They are very very shorthanded. In fact, there's a huge shortage of family doctors and nurses right now in the industry. And so, yeah, maybe, I hope you're right because I really don't want to have to lose my job. I like it. But it says it's well known that we've had a slowdown in the demand for the vaccine. Now this is very concerning because now it's a terrible thing to think that we have vaccines to save people's lives and not see it in people's arms. He said vaccinated people will be granted special access.
Who is this?
This is some governor, Washington State Democratic Governor Jay Inslee. And then he goes on to say these new guidelines will allow cruises to take place where everybody's vaccinated on the ship except those who can't get vaccinated for one reason or another. Inslee said this is going to go into effect in mid-May. Small example of the benefits of getting vaccinated. So yeah, he just goes on to talk about how you'll be given special treatment if you get vaccinated. You have special privileges because you are the chosen one.
So anyway, back to the hospital. We had this big alert and we got 26 people in the hospital.
Oh yeah, because they're thinking about having to open up the COVID unit again.
They said they did open it up.
Yeah.
That's what was on the news. And 26
it was on the news?
Yeah, that was on the news.
Yeah.
26 people.
Yeah.
And they're going to open up the COVID unit again. There's 350,000 people
in our city.
Not the city, but the metro area.
Oh, yeah.
So 26 people divided by 350,000. That's not even a percentage worth mentioning. It's actually I computed it. It's 0.000742. So it's it's like that's not even. It's like a minuscule number. It's like not even like 0.7% or something. And they're freaking out again over 26 people. I don't want to belittle the fact that 26 people are suffering and have something.
Yeah, but
and 26 people, and we're freaking out again.
The stylist I was talking to today too also had an interesting story. I don't think I told you this. It was a young girl. I don't know how young she was. A young couple. She was talking about how she and her husband were getting out of the house for the first time in a year, and that they were going out to eat to celebrate not only being fully vaccinated, but for leaving their house for the first time in a year.
This was your stylist or some?
No.
Customer?
She was talking about a customer that she was helping, and that this customer, that she was helping, called the restaurant and was very strict in telling them that when they go to eat, they have to be kept separate from everybody. I guess she was that freaked out about it, but she was like fearful for their lives this past year. That's how indoctrinated she had become, hearing all this crap. But imagine for just a moment, she's in essence lost a year of her life by staying home and being fearful. Doesn't that make you sad? That is sad.
Do you know, did she say like what the age of the person was or anything like that?
No, I should have asked her. But it sounded like they were pretty young, like maybe, early 30s or something. But I don't know. That just makes me so sad that people have allowed the crap that's going on around us to just make them so fearful that they just stop living, basically.
Shows you how powerful the news media is. And man, people do not watch that stuff. It's just that's how they get people to watch is all the fear that they're promoting.
Fear sells. I mean, CNN. Somebody at CNN actually came out and said that under some undercover camera thing. But yeah, so I just think it's sad, and I think that's a lesson for all of us because we're all going to die. You do realize that, right? Humans can't live forever. We're going to die, whether it's from COVID or a car accident or some other disease or what have you. So that's all the more reason to get out there and live your life. Yeah. It's precious.
Yeah, I mean, be wise about stuff. Don't
of course. But don't be so fearful that you don't live.
I mean, in the Bible, it says fear not. It's like on practically every page of the Bible.
Right.
It says fear not.
Right. And I feel sorry for people that don't have faith, that don't believe in God and have that faith, in everlasting life and everything. And I do. I feel bad for people that don't have that backup plan, if you will.
Yeah. But if you don't have hope, I guess.
It's just all the more reason to live your life, people. Don't let something like this just prevent you from living your life. I mean, that would just make me so sick that if I was that poor girl that was so fearful for my life and that I just basically did nothing for a year. That just makes me sad because time is so precious. And
it's almost like we have two different societies. I mean, a lot of us is just basically have been living our lives pretty much normal.
Yeah, for sure.
The whole time, except these ridiculous masks you got to put on sometimes. But
there's dehumanizing.
There's a segment of people that have just sort of been hunkered down the whole year.
I mean, masks are so dehumanizing and just suppressing and just depressing.
Yeah.
And also, but there's hope. There's hope. Let's not get too down in the dumps here. Did you guys hear about the Arizona school board?
Yeah, I saw that. I didn't watch the video of it or anything, but I did hear that.
It was so satisfying. Arizona school board flees. Parents elect new board. Vote to end mask mandate. On Tuesday, the Vail School District in southern Arizona was scheduled to discuss its mask policy after Governor Doug Ducey enacted a new executive order that lifted the state's order to require face masks in schools. In response to the meeting, more than 100 parents rallied for the Vail School District to drop the mask mandate. But just moments before the meeting was scheduled to take place, school officials abruptly decided to cancel the meeting, citing safety concerns over the parents' protest. A throng of parents later pushed their way into the boardroom after refusing to wear masks and demanded to speak with their elected officials. Oh, click here to read the full story. Hold on.
I hate that. I hate when they do that.
But I get it. Let's see. In response, the Vail board called 911, and Pima County Sheriff Nanos told this news station a sergeant and 4 deputies showed up in just over a minute. The district said the sheriff told the board to adjourn the study session because the crowd was uncontrollable, but the sheriff says that's false. The board made that decision on their own, and crowd control was not an issue. Emotions ran high as parents confronted law enforcement, demanding to know why the board canceled the meeting. They, the school board, have the audacity to leave when we come here as peaceful parents to talk to them, one parent passionately asked. Following the adjournment, the parents, under Robert's Rules of Order, voted in a new school board. Then the new members voted to end the mask requirement in Vail schools. Whether this procedure to install new board members is legally valid remains in contention. And that's always been my question. Like, how
is that legal?
Yes.
Yeah, I have that same question.
But
that's pretty cool that they did that.
It was so cool.
I mean, the school board just resigned.
Yes. So you watch this video, and these parents refused to leave. Nobody was leaving, and the school board finally got fed up, and they quit. And then right there on the spot, they elected 5 new school board members, and they all voted to end the mask mandate. And in a discussion, everyone went home. Now, I don't know if they could legally do that, but the point is, we have reached that point in our society where people are just putting their foot down and saying no. And that's how I think we're going to finally end this madness, is when enough people stop going along with it. Don't you think?
Surely, these people that have gotten vaccinated, and that are still, being asked to wear masks because it's your patriotic duty,
I mean, how do you guys feel about that? The people that are vaccinated out there, don't you have questions? Don't you wonder why? What's the point of all of it if nothing's going to change? I just don't understand why more vaccinated people are not standing up and saying, wait a minute, what is going on here? I've been sold,
I don't know,
a load of crap.
Yeah. Okay, speaking of Arizona, they've got the big audit of the Maricopa County ballots proceeding there. And it's been, they've got cameras, like, I think nine cameras that you can look at online to sort of watch the proceedings. It's boring. It's like watching paint dry, basically. It's just like a bunch of people in a room looking at paper. But
I think it's great that they're doing this, and they should have done this before
should have been done before now, but they fought to get it. They've been fighting to get it, and it's just taken this long to get an audit.
So now what? I mean, what can possibly be done? What's done is done. But again, my stylist, I was talking to her today about a lot of different topics, and I really like her. But she goes, but Trump never conceded. So she's thinking there's some kind of loophole in that if they have enough evidence,
I don't think so.
that
he conceded.
Well,
he did.
I thought that was kind of an interesting point. Now I don't know if it's right.
It's not. They're supposedly there's a lot of other states that are coming down the line here with audits, but I wouldn't think it's going to change anything, except for the fact that they'll maybe be able to enforce the rules and get some more procedures in place.
Well, yeah,
for the next election. That's
exactly what I was going to say. They're setting a precedent for the upcoming elections so that they can't continue to cheat every time an election comes up, because they're trying really hard to pass all these laws in Congress right now so that in essence they never lose another election. So if they can prove that something fishy went down this last election, then maybe they can make some changes so that we can at least have a fair election.
Yeah, and the Democrats are fighting this tooth and nail. It's like
and nail.
Why are you fighting it? I mean, if your guy won, you should be welcoming the audit.
Like, what do you have to hide?
To prove that he won.
Exactly.
Let's bring it on. They should just say bring it on,
Right, exactly.
Why are they fighting it?
Exactly. And
we're getting up there on time.
Yeah, and something else I want to talk about too was about this whole defund police thing.
That's
so
crazy.
Okay. Let's think about this logically for a moment, shall we? So let's just say, for the sake of argument, that we defund the police. And as a matter of fact, a lot of police officers are quitting, and I can't say I blame them because it's becoming too dangerous and too crazy. So what happens when either we defund the police and they go away, which will never happen, but more accurately, what will probably happen is they just don't have the people that are going into law enforcement. So they have very few police officers.
They'll send social workers to take knives out of people's hands before they stab somebody.
What do they think is going to happen? Okay, so let's just say, for the sake of argument, we do away with the police. The police no longer exist. Okay, we no longer have law enforcement officers enforcing the laws we have on the books. What is your plan? What are you hoping to accomplish by getting rid of them? You think that all of a sudden nobody's ever going to break the law? Nobody's ever going to get violent. And you wonder why gun sales have reached record highs. In fact, you can't even buy a gun because they're hard to find. I just don't understand what they're hoping to accomplish.
The people that are asking for that are just insane. That's the only explanation I can come up with on that is that they're just insane. They haven't thought it through. They're insane.
It says law enforcement in our nation is facing a perfect storm. Stupid politicians are listening to stupid anarchists who want license to rampage across urban areas without repercussions. Law enforcement is under violent siege as they battle these monsters night after night, month after month. Police are leaving the profession in droves, not just because of the working conditions, but because stupid city governments refuse to support them. The result is a massive police shortage across the country, especially in large blue cities. Police departments are also facing a recruiting crisis because qualified individuals are deciding they wouldn't touch the law enforcement profession with a 10-foot pole. It's the perfect storm.
Yeah, but we've already seen, like in Minnesota, in Minneapolis, where they defunded the police and things like that. We're already seeing the effects of that. So hopefully people will start waking up and say, we can't do that.
Yeah, and don't think African Americans are in favor of abolishing the police either. In fact, 61% of African Americans do not want the police defunded, while nearly 90% of Black Americans agreed that reforming the criminal justice system, increasing accountability within the law enforcement, and raising awareness about its potential for abuse will be more effective in the long run. These aren't the numbers defund the police activists like to report. In another poll, 70% of African Americans believe their local police are doing a good job. Are you listening, liberals? That's what it says in this article. I don't know. We just live in a topsy-turvy, crazy Twilight Zone world right now. Yeah. Women are men, men are women. Speaking of which, did you hear about Caitlyn Jenner trying to run for governor of California?
As a Republican.
Which, ironically, wouldn't that be something? You're against, wait a minute, leftist, Californians. You're against Caitlyn Jenner, a transgender? Are you transphobic? Why are you against her? This seemed like this would be the perfect opportunity to get a trans woman in government.
Yeah. As
a governor.
I pretty much have ignored that person. I don't know what
Caitlyn Jenner
he or she believes. So I don't know if that's a good or bad thing. On the surface it seems bad because, but I don't know.
Now wait a minute.
What that person's stance is on anything.
That's true, but you can't automatically assume because he is a transgender that he won't do a good job.
You sort of have to question someone's judgment, though, based upon what they do in their lives with themselves and their bodies.
That's a good point.
So
I don't
know. I don't know. I really liked Bruce Jenner back in the 70s when he was the decathlon guy, but I don't know. I haven't really paid attention to him too much in the last 10 years or something. So
interestingly enough, that you bring that up, he has gone on record to say he, sorry, whatever. I don't mean to belittle this, but whatever. As saying that he disagrees with transgenders competing in women's sports, that it's an unfair advantage. He
really?
says, yep, he said that. And that makes sense because he's been there. He was a triathlon. He was this athlete that was, great at all these sports and everything. So he knows. He knows.
So was he a woman back then? Like a closet woman when he won the men's
I think he says he
decathlon?
was, but I don't know.
Isn't that like sexist that he won the men's decathlon, but he was really deep inside a woman?
I don't know. It gets complicated. I don't even pretend to understand all the nuances of that.
Yeah,
but
it's crazy. Okay, what else you got? I have this thing with the Epicurious website. It's like a recipe website. They're no longer going to have beef recipes because beef causes climate change.
They don't actually want you to eat beef or dairy.
Yeah.
Now, I guess why? Because of the cow farts? I don't understand.
I don't know
what the deal is on that.
That's crazy.
I don't understand the whole...
Are they okay with pork? What's the difference between pork and beef?
I don't know. I don't understand this whole climate change argument because, how are you going to solve climate change with money? Here, just give us money and we'll solve climate change for you.
Well, that's this cap and trade.
What are you going to do? You're going to paste bills on the sun to block. I don't understand what they're doing.
Well, they have these carbon credits, and I don't want to go into that right now, but they have these carbon credits that they're selling these companies. It's the biggest scam. It is really the biggest scam that has ever been come up with by man. Basically, companies are paying another company so they can pollute. So pollution is not going to go down. But this big organization, it's like the IPCC or something like that, that sells these carbon credits, supposedly, or they're going to plant trees to offset the carbon that's emitted by these companies. It is the biggest scam, and that's what this Paris Climate Accord was about.
Oh.
So anyway, we can go into that some other time. But
yeah.
But back when I was a kid, they were talking about global cooling, and I used to actually I would cry myself to sleep sometimes at night back in the 70s because I was afraid of all the pollution.
And that's sad.
And the global cooling and the ice age that was coming. I'll post some articles. I found a site that has some articles that were
now as a
published back in
kid.
the 70s.
How did you even know about this as a kid? Did
I mean,
your parents talk about it?
Well, no, we had these things in class that were
In
called
school?
the Weekly Reader, and I loved reading when I was a kid, and they had all these.
You did?
Oh yeah, they had all these stories about climate change and the coming ice age. The Earth is cooling down, and it was just basically fear. But motivating people by fear back then. Except it was global cooling, not global warming back then. So.
I remember them talking about global cooling, but I was too young to really give it much attention.
And
so I didn't really know what that meant.
What's kind of curious is a lot of the links that are on this site that I was looking at a few weeks ago, those links have actually been taken down.
Yeah,
This censorship is just
it's out of control.
And
However,
that's why you should, if you see something you're interested in, you should probably print it out or
no kidding.
make a PDF of it or something.
Yeah, get a screenshot of it.
And that's why it's good to have like an actual book.
Well, and
because
we hear about all
they can't
this.
change your what do they call those things? Your little reader thing.
Oh, Kindles.
Yeah, they can't change it on the Kindle.
Well,
or take it off your Kindle.
Well, they can actually. They can force an update, which takes it off.
That's what I'm saying. They can.
Oh,
they can.
I'm sorry. I thought you said can't. But why don't you read that one part in your book about the whole censorship
We'll have to
thing?
get into that some other time. I was just reading.
What a teaser.
I was just reading this thing about. It was actually 102, 104 years ago during World War II, where they had massive censorship, kind of similar to what we've got going on today, except it was like the Postmaster General would withhold people's mail, and people they had this organization that would read their neighbor's mail to make sure that it wasn't something something to do with the German spying,
like you're
or
not a
something
spy.
like that.
Yeah.
But I just kind of saw some parallels to what's going on today with Facebook.
Yeah.
Facebook and Instagram and
very true.
And Twitter.
Speaking of Facebook, I saw an article just right before we started filming about Mark Zuckerberg and his wife. They bought 40 acres of land in Hawaii.
Really?
Yep. I mean, it kind of makes you wonder, what all these bigwigs are doing here. Are you planning something? I'm sure they probably know something.
Rich. He's rich. He can buy land wherever he wants to.
I guess why not?
Why not?
Made the money.
I don't have a problem with that.
No, I don't have a problem with it. I just kind of wonder what the motivation is. But I don't know. Maybe at some point he's probably just going to build a house out there or something. Because it's beautiful.
I saw him surfing the other day, and he had like a coat of sunblock.
Was that a true story, by the way?
Sunblock on his face, like an inch thick.
He said that he put this really thick white face, because he looked completely like a white face instead of a black face, on because he wanted to disguise himself so people wouldn't recognize him. Now, I don't know if that's true or not, but
I don't know. There's something weird going on with that guy, for sure.
Yeah, he's a weirdo. Mark Zuckerberg is weird. Anyway, how we doing on time?
We're getting up there.
Okay, so let's change tactics here and lighten it up, shall we?
Oh, here's the good part.
Yeah, I think it's a good part. I think people enjoy it. You're the only weirdo that doesn't like it. All right, on conversation starters, this is human nature questions. I like these questions that make you think. So, are humans better at creation or destruction? I think both.
Well, I mean,
It depends on the human.
Technically, humans really haven't created anything. God created everything.
No, I disagree with that.
We can make things out of the materials that we have.
So we're splitting the definition between make and create.
Yeah.
Okay, I understand.
Yeah.
I get that. That's true.
But destruction, yeah, I think both.
I
really.
mean, look at like our world wars and how we have bad apples out there in society that like to kill people and destroy things and set things on fire and defund the police and blah blah blah.
Right.
What makes people believe absurd conspiracy theories?
Well, if you hear something over and over and over enough, like the world's going to end in 12 years because of climate change, if you hear that enough, you'll start believing crazy conspiracy theories like that.
Well, and it's also like telling a really good lie. You have just enough truth in it to make people at least question. And then if they hear it more and more, they start believing it.
Yeah.
Because then they think it's fact because they're hearing it more.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, like this stuff that is played on the news media over and over and over. Like January 6th, there was a terrible, murderous insurrection.
Yeah, and according to Biden.
Armed insurrection. There was no arms. And if you look at pictures of it, there's like grandmas and grandpas.
All armless? They didn't have arms?
Yeah.
All those poor people.
Yeah, and it's like grandmas and grandpas looking around at, with their cameras.
Yeah. And Biden, you didn't watch the speech, but that's one thing that Biden said in his speech. It was the worst insurrection in history. And people are all like going up in arms like, what about World War II? What about 9/11? What about this? What about this? It's definitely not the worst thing that's happened in our history. Biden's exaggerating.
Yeah, what about all the... Don't you remember whenever President Trump got into office, they had like 3 days of terror in the Capitol?
I don't remember that.
Oh, yeah. Remember Madonna? Madonna said, I just want to go over there and blow up the White House.
I do remember her saying that. And why weren't there any repercussions for that?
Well, I think she got questioned, didn't she?
I don't know. Did she?
Yeah, but the news media forgets about all that stuff.
There's a different set of rules for the leftists. Yeah. So, I don't know.
Yeah.
Probably not.
Right.
Or if she did, it wasn't very...
Yeah, I think she got a visit by the Secret Service over that one.
Yeah, well... Let's see. What is the best way to explore human nature? Psychology, philosophy, or biology? Ooh.
Human nature?
Yeah. Ooh.
How do you define human nature, I guess?
Well, I don't think it's biology.
Well, yeah, biology would just be how it all works.
Right.
Philosophy or psychology?
I think it's psychology or philosophy. I almost think it's, both of them, really. Because
psychology is so...
subjective.
Yeah. Philosophy.
Because it depends on the individual. It depends on their history. It depends on how they were raised. Depends on chemical reactions in the brain.
I don't know. You got
me on that one. But philosophy, I almost think it's philosophy because most of what we believe is based on someone's interpretation of either what they're reading or what they've heard or their beliefs. Don't you think?
Mm-hmm.
Like Aristotle's and Socrates and all those people that kind of set the tone for what we believe now. Mm-hmm. So I think it's philosophy.
I'd go along with that. It just seems like psychology is just so, just like you say, so subjective. And
yeah.
There's like competing.
Well, it's just
views on that. Of course, there is on.
It's almost a physical.
Yeah.
Reaction is psychology because it can be like chemical imbalances.
I was watching this thing last night about this guy
mental illness and things like that.
This guy that studies body language, and that was pretty interesting.
Oh, I love body language.
You can tell what people are thinking or what they're getting ready to do based upon what if they touch their nose or go like that with their nose or something like that.
Yeah. I watched one guy, I watch his videos sometimes. He likes to analyze like celebrities and their apology videos and stuff, whether they're being sincere or not. Like this whole, I know you're not into this at all, but Demi Lovato, she's a really talented singer. And she went into a froyo shop and was triggered by the fact that they offered sugar-free options because she has this, pretty severe eating disorder. And for whatever reason, I don't know why it triggered her, but she was just really upset with this froyo place. And, everybody's kind of backlashed like, well, newsflash, Debbie, you're not the only person in the world that's, they didn't gear these things just because they were anticipating you walking in their doors and they wanted to trigger you. But this body language analyst was watching her apology video and was just slamming how she kind of curl her lip in disgust and always kind of look down into the side like, she's scorning, and just, it was really interesting. And you can learn a lot about a person by watching their body language. Whether like they have their arms open and that means they're open to, you and suggestions and opinions, as opposed to sitting there with your arms crossed. I mean, you're closed in and you're not willing to listen and that kind of thing. And it's really interesting to watch it. I feel like I'm handling the conversation by myself.
Well, I'm just looking. I'm trying to find the name of the guy that I was watching last night, and I can't seem to.
Well, if you find it, put in the show notes, because it's really interesting to learn about body language.
Scott something, and I just can't seem to find it. Okay, I'll put it in the notes. But.
And I mean, it's interesting not only in body language, but it's just interesting in teaching yourself to slow down and listen to people, as opposed to thinking about what you're going to say in retaliation for whatever it's being told. Does that make sense? Like,
yeah.
It's so important to actually listen. Just listen to what people are saying.
That's what this guy was saying. You listen, definitely listen, and just watch what they're doing. And
right.
then. And also, it was important that you don't have to. You ask a question and you just let someone talk, and then just let them. And you don't have to keep talking. Just let them talk, and then, like he would do, these help police interrogate suspects, and his big thing was just let them talk and just ask a question and then just stop talking.
Right.
And just let them.
Right.
And they'll like come up with all kinds of.
Yes.
Like if they're nervous, they'll start going, making a funny
and
twitch
then
or something like that.
It's human nature to try to bridge those silence gaps.
Yeah.
Like if you just stop talking, it's human nature to try to like fill that silence.
Yeah.
And that's a lot of times people will slip up and say what they.
Yeah. This guy's name was Scott Rouse.
Who is that?
Scott Rouse.
Do you have a picture of him?
It's this guy right here.
Oh, no, that's not who I thought about. Because the guy had been watching ball.
He had a really interesting background. He'd actually been a musician, and he'd actually been a producer in
really? I wonder what made him go into
Nashville.
Like, the whole body language thing.
Because his doctor, he has a story where his father was a doctor, and one time he went to eat lunch with his dad in the doctor's office, and he said his dad said, "Look at that kid over there. You can tell if he's sick or not by how he acts with his mom. Like he'll lean up against his mom with his ear.
Oh, yeah.
And that tells he's got an earache, and his mom's hair's all messed up. That means that she was up all night long.
She was probably having a rough time.
So and that's what got him interested in body language. So
yeah,
anyway,
that's kind of
a tangent. But.
That's kind of like a lot of what Sir Arthur Conan Doyle wrote about in his Sherlock Holmes books was Sherlock Holmes' ability to see all of these extra details in people to basically predict accurately most of the times, like nicotine stains in your fingers means he's a smoker, and just all kinds of little things that normal people just wouldn't normally recognize and pay attention to. And you can tell a lot about people if you really pay attention and really listen. That's how I judge patients. Whenever I bring them back to a room, I can always tell if they're a no nonsense personality or if they're nervous, and then I adjust my approach to them accordingly to try to make them as comfortable as possible.
Yeah, it's
important.
He was saying when he was a record producer, he would pitch these artists to the record producers in like a room of record producers, and he said the ones that were sitting there going like that were the ones that weren't interested, and the ones that were going like had frowns on their face were the ones that were interested because they were thinking things through. Am I going to be able to put $1 million into this artist?
So they were more open to the ideas.
The ones that had the frowns on their face, it's like the opposite of what you think, because the ones that were going like this, and agreeing with them, are the ones that weren't interested.
Yeah, I get
funny.
that. I get that.
Thought that was interesting. Okay, what else?
See, this is why I like these kinds of questions, because they open up all these different kinds of conversations that, I don't know, I just think it's interesting.
Oh, yeah, it is.
Oh, it is. Come on, you know it is. All right, 2 more questions. Is human nature constant, or is it molded by culture? Can human nature be completely changed by culture or society? Well, I think that's a definite yes. Don't you? I mean, I think people are like malleable. Like they're just, people are so gullible. They'll believe pretty much anything you tell them, depending on who's telling them.
Weren't we just talking about something like this? It's like, who would ever believe 5 years ago that this?
I know.
What were we just talking about?
Oh, I don't remember.
Something at dinner time.
Yeah. But it's amazing because, I mean, who would have thought that would have been a culture of wearing masks and being suspicious of our fellow man? And
you have to wear a mask in a bank.
Or you have to wear a mask outside in your car.
It used to be
alone.
It used to be if you wore a mask in a bank, they'd call the police on you.
Oh, I know. So, yeah, I think 100%. I think human nature is molded by culture.
Yeah.
For sure.
Crazy.
Oh, 100% for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I just think that's another example of the reason why I think it happens is I think people are they've not been taught to independently think on their own. They've not been taught to critically think. And I'm going to continue going back to this, as much as I can, because I think it's important. And I think parents out there, it's important to teach your kids to independently think. Question authority, always. There's never any harm in questioning. If you know the answer, then say the answer. If you don't, talk about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Have that conversation with your kids. It's okay to have different opinions.
But if the police stop you, make sure
obviously,
you go along with what the police
of course,
don't question that authority.
Right. No, there's a time and
That's
place
how people
for
are getting
it,
shot.
obviously.
Yeah, that's how people are getting shot.
Right. If the police are
Don't question
confronting
that.
you,
Yeah,
then you need to
Just go along with
comply,
it. Yeah.
and then you can work out the details later.
Yeah.
But that moment in time,
you can talk to the judge
when
about
emotions are running high.
Yeah, don't question that authority.
Just do what the police say, people.
Yeah.
Just do what they say.
Yeah.
And then one more, is what we perceive reality or just a construct of our minds? Can our minds correctly interpret a reality, or is reality subjective?
No, this is not the Matrix. This is reality.
That's what I said. Yeah, well, whoever the writer was of The Matrix was just brilliant, really, when you think about it, because it does kind of make you wonder, is this real life? Or is this a dream? Am I living a parallel reality? I mean, it does kind of make you wonder. But I guess it depends on whose reality. Like, right now with our country so divided, I mean, the left has their reality that they fully and 100% believe in and think they're in the right. And then here we are on the right, and we feel the exact opposite, but we also feel
we are
as
right.
passionately that we are right. Exactly. So, I mean, who's to say who's right or wrong, right? I mean, I guess that's why you have to compromise, because it's not either my way or the highway. It's got to be a compromise. And I think that's where we are right now in our society, is nobody's willing to compromise. No one's even willing to talk about it. I mean, the fact that I have a different opinion from you automatically labels me as racist, homophobic, xenophobic, whatever you want to call it. And it's so the conversation's immediately shut down.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like a bipartisan agreement is always when the Republicans cave, essentially.
Oh, yeah, I know.
And a compromise is always when the Republicans give up and let the Democrats have what they want, essentially.
Which they do consistently, unfortunately. So.
All right.
Okay. Well, one last thing. How's your week? How was your week this week?
It was pretty busy. I'm pretty tired. I'm going to take a day off tomorrow, I think.
You have been working really hard on that trailer.
Yeah. I'm really getting bogged down on a lot of the details. The kitchen, I'm trying to get the kitchen cabinets done so I can put in the countertops. I got the countertops. I ordered the countertops. I thought, man, I'm getting pretty close. I need to get these countertops.
Yeah.
And I got them. It's like, man, I got to get this done before I can put those in.
Oh,
and
but
I gotta
honey,
do this
it is
going to
look so good.
I'll put some pictures of the cabinets. I got them pretty close at this point.
Yeah, definitely put pictures of the cabinets that you've been working on. And you have to understand that he's pretty much building these cabinets. I mean, he's customizing them.
Well, the main cabinet I found at the recycling place, and then I searched like crazy for a cabinet for the entryway, and I could not find anything, so I just built it.
Mm-hmm.
I built one.
Yeah.
And
I think that's
it
pretty
just
impressive.
took a long time.
And
to
you've
build.
done a really good job, honey. I'm
Well-
really impressed. And then one of the drawers in the kitchen counterpart, I mean, he made the drawer because it wasn't made to come out. It was just decorative.
That was my first drawer that I
I
ever
thought,
made.
man, honey, I think you've done really good. It's really, really looking good. You painted them white. We're going to have the dark wood countertop. It's going to look really sharp. I cannot wait.
I hope.
And so I know you've been working really hard on that, but it's going to be so fun to use that when you get it done with it. So you should be proud of yourself.
Yeah, since we're not going to be able to go on any cruises.
Yeah. I mean, that's the whole reason why we bought this trailer, and the whole reason why he's been working so hard on it is that we're not anticipating being able to go on a cruise for probably quite a few years. So in an attempt to just do something, instead of just stay home all the time, we bought this trailer, and
we've been talking about it anyway for a long time, going across the country.
But COVID is what sealed it.
Yeah. So what about you?
Nothing really. Just I get up, go to work, come home. I do
You've
feel
been working
better.
a lot. I know you're shorthanded up there, so.
Yeah, I feel much, much better. I got over my sinus junk. I don't know what it was. If it's a sinus infection, COVID, I don't know. Whatever. It was something. But I'm over it now. And yes, this summer is going to be super busy for me because we're going to be down 3 medical assistants in May. And then we're going to be down 2 after May because one girl's just having surgery. She'll be out for 4 to 6 weeks. So this whole summer is going to be super busy for me. I'm going to get a lot of overtime.
Overtime.
That's right. I will too. So
I'll have to think of some way to spend that.
Well, I'll just, well, anyway, so it's going to be super busy, but that's okay. I'm up to the challenge. I just hope that they don't mandate the vaccine in the interim because they can't afford to lose another person.
It's not going to happen.
I really hope not because I really like my job and I love the people I work with, and it's very satisfying to take care of patients.
They would be fools to mandate it because...
Well... But that
unless
Houston,
people just cave and get it, I don't know.
Well, that hospital in Houston is mandating it.
And kind of like the flu vaccine, when they finally mandated, everybody just got it.
I mean, yeah, I always have a choice. I don't have to, but I just hope they don't mandate it anytime soon.
There's enough places to work that you don't have to work there.
Yeah, that's one last thing too. I mean, my gosh, this is probably the best time to look for a job right now because everybody's really hurting.
Help wanted signs everywhere.
Oh yeah, and there's stories of there was one story, I don't know if it's true or not, but one woman was talking about how she went through the drive-thru at some place and the girl that was helping her was crying and she's like, "What's wrong? Why are you crying?" And she's like, "If you know anybody that wants a job," she says, "please send them our way because we are hurting so badly because they're overworking the employees they do have because they're so short-handed." I mean, they're actually, who was it that was offering a sign-on bonus?
Captain D's. I saw a sign that said $100 sign-on bonus.
Can you believe that? Captain D's is offering a $100 sign-on
at
bonus.
McDonald's, they'll just give you $50 if you'll just come in and get an interview.
Is that not insane?
Yeah.
That's got to be historic.
And all this crazy stimulus stuff and unemployment that they've got going on is just really killing these companies. It's
killing the economy. It really is because they're basically paying people to stay home.
Yeah.
And it's a human reaction. I mean, let's be honest.
Yeah, I don't blame people.
I don't blame them. If you're going to pay me to stay home, then
they said
I'll do it.
In Massachusetts, people are getting $1,100 a week.
That is crazy.
I think I'm going to move up there.
How can employers possibly compete with that? Well, they can't.
Do you want to move to Massachusetts?
Oh my goodness. The thing is, it's not long term. At some point, it's going to end. But I mean, heck, okay, you'll just get a job then, I guess. But I feel sorry. So be kind to people when you're going out to businesses and stuff.
Did you see the video of the lady that was crying? It was a manager or a owner of a business was crying because she couldn't hire anybody.
I know. That's what I mean. The people are at their wits' end.
Yeah.
And it's just so sad. So please be nice to people when you go out and to these businesses and stuff because those poor employees, they're being worked to death.
Yeah.
So be nice. Did you see the video about the African? I know I keep talking, but about the African American guy that went in there to this hotel employee. He was at the registration, and I don't know what the issue was, but he was berating this guy and telling him, gosh, how stupid, wow, that kind of thing about. And it triggered this young kid. He's about the age of our kids, and you could tell he was just starting to get more and more nervous and more worked up. And then all of a sudden he starts pounding his head like this and just kind of having a fit. And he gets up and he moves off camera and he starts howling and crying. He just starts losing control. Now, I don't know if this kid was on the autistic spectrum or what. But the point is, this guy goaded this poor kid to the point where he had a nervous breakdown. And
That's
this
too bad.
and this guy just keeps feeling him. And he's going, wow, how stupid, blah, blah, blah. And people, I mean, they just blew up the internet on this guy saying, how cruel can you possibly be?
Yeah.
So I say that to just please remind people, be patient with these people that are out there working their butts off. Okay, because they're human. They don't want to be there any more than you want to be there, and they're just doing the best they can do.
Yeah, they're shorthanded.
They are. So be nice to people. Be considerate. So
okay, that's a good way to end it.
That's a good way to end it.
Be nice to people. Let's be nice.
Yes.
Everyone be
nice.
nice.
Be nice. Everybody be nice. Be kind
this
to
week,
your fellow
let's
human
all try
beings.
to be nice.
That's right.
For a change.
That's your homework for this week. Is be nice.
I'll try to be nice for a change.
Pay it forward. Pay someone's meal because you don't know what kind of day they've had.
That's true.
So,
all right. Thanks
all right.
for listening and watching.
Yeah. Thanks so much. We appreciate your time as always. And I guess we'll see you next time.
See ya. Bye.
Bye. I mean, we are at this secret, undisclosed location.
That's what